Alright, so what we have here are some different objects that we are going to mix together. First, let's start with water, and we can use our classifications to decide how to describe water. We know that it is uniform throughout, so that tells us that it's a substance. We also know from previous experience that water is H2O, so it has hydrogen and oxygen together, which makes it a compound. So water is a substance and a compound. We also have here some sugar, and sugar, if we look through here, it has a uniform consistency, so it's the same throughout. We call that a substance. We also know that the compound sugar, or that it is a compound because there isn't an element sugar on the periodic table. Over here we have sand, which we call a mixture because if you can see in there, there are different colored pieces, and that, since it's not uniform throughout, we consider that a mixture. So let's just do some experimentation, and we're going to put some sand into our beaker, and let's put a little bit of sugar in there. Let's see how that goes. So we have the pure substance sugar going into the mixture sand. If we take our little stir rod and give that a little twirl, we come up with a mixture because it still does not have a uniform consistency. So the substance and mixture combined to make a mixture. Now, there are some ways that we could separate these. We could go by hand and dump them out on a piece of paper that I've got right here, and we can sort it using one of these. Just kind of separate out all the sugar and the sand from each other. Probably would take a really long time. We know from experience that sugar will dissolve in water. So if we pour the sugar or the water into our mixture, the sand will be left at the bottom, and then the sugar will be dissolved throughout. So that's what we've done, and we give that a little turn. Their stir rod just to kind of help the sugar dissolve completely. Again, we're not going to get that sand to dissolve. Now that we have this, all right, how do we get it apart from the sand? We've got the sugar water, and we can use what's called filtration. And filtration is when we separate a mixture based off of size, or we could base it off of phases. So like in this instance, we will be basing it off of the solid phase of the sand and the liquid phase of the sugar water. We'll just use this beaker, dump that out, and pour this in. We want to try to get as much of the mixture, including that sand stuff, into our beaker as possible. So we clean that out, and we just let it filter through. Let me grab a hold of the camera, and so maybe I can move this a little forward so you can see what's going on in the middle there. Not a super awesome process. We've just got this liquid that is currently just dripping through. Sometimes you can speed it along by giving it a little stir. But if we notice that the water is trickling through, so if we tilt it down, we can see that the water is going through the filter, and then you have the sand is staying in there. So this is filtration. This ends part one of this demonstration.